This is Bless Radio. It's Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. on Tuesday. This is the spiritual discussion program. I'm Saad in southeast London, and with me shortly will be Gregory joining the show. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abrushin. And I just want to introduce my colleague Gregory. Gregory, how are you?
One is fine and it's
Okay,
cold here.
all right. And how is the weather where you are?
And it's already dark and cold.
Okay, so here in London too, it is also dark and cold. Um, I was trying to say it's been very chilly. I didn't feel it so chilly today compared to last week. So, welcome, listeners. As I said, the aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abrushin. And every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic tonight is what matters in life. What matters in life? You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio One. That's the number one.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. I'm going to begin with what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message, in the light of truth, Abdushin, is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover, through the intuitive perception, if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter of fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Abrushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with seven seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic that we are discussing tonight is what matters in life. What matters in life? If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And then there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1, that's the number one, .com. If you scroll down on the home page, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. Now, Gregory, you know I like to look up the meaning of the words in the topic for each show. And the topic tonight, again, is what matters in life. So I know I did look up the word what, even though it sounds a little bit obvious, but I thought let me do that. So what meanings do I find in the dictionary for the word what? I've got two meanings. The first one is asking for information, specifying something. The example they give, what is your name? So just to repeat that, the meaning of the word what, asking for information, specifying something. Gregory, what do you say to this meaning?
Well, thanks for the question. This is more of a qualifier. Is asking, is a response. It's quite difficult to say because it's so key in everything.
Mm.
It is a noun which specified a thing. So what you yourself just read out is asking for that particular thing.
Yes.
That's why you have the what.
Like a query. So
like a query.
Yes. Okay. There's another meaning given. I mean, I didn't really have to look it up, if I'm honest. I just did it anyway, just because I look up all the words. And so I thought I'll do it for this one. So anyway, the second meaning in the dictionary for the word what, it says the thing or things that used in specifying something. So even I don't know what that is. What is this meaning saying? What we need is a commitment. I see. So it's like something is required, and then they're saying, what is it? What do we need? So I think, Greg, I'll dismiss this one. I don't think there's a need to talk about this one. Let me continue. So the topic again, listeners, what matters in life? So the second word there is matters. So I looked that up again in the dictionary. Two meanings I got. First one is physical substance in general as distinct from mind and spirit. In physics, that which occupies space and possesses mass, I think is the word, especially as distinct from energy. And then I think the example they give is the structure and properties of matter. So this Yes. How good is that one for our discussion, Gregory? This meaning of
It's
the
not
word
good
matter.
at all, because if you look at the whole expression, what matters, it's not talking about physics. It's talking about that which is important, which is of decisive importance. And it's not talking about matter
Yes.
as such. So it's more of a qualifier,
Yes.
trying to get
Yes.
something, some substance, which substance could be matter, which substance could be energy.
Hmm.
It depends on how the qualifier is used, like an adjective or an adverb.
Yes. In fact, I think the second meaning is more appropriate. So let me read that. So this is again a meaning of the word matter. A subject or situation under consideration. And to example, they give a great deal of work has was done on this matter. So let me
Yeah.
repeat that. Yes, you like that one. Okay, good. That's good. So a subject or situation under consideration. This is what we are doing actually. What matters in life? This is our topic. So the next key word is life. So let's see what I got for the meaning of life. I've got two meanings again in the dictionary. The first one, the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. Let me repeat that one. So, this is the meaning of the word life. It says the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. How about this meaning?
It is. mm, It can be used, but it's very narrow in its meaning.
Okay, let's look at the second one. That one is the existence of an individual human being or animal.
Again, these are qualifiers. They really haven't presented a general conception that may be utilized in the scenarios which we're likely to deal with.
Okay, so at this stage, Gregory, would you like to give, let's say, a better definition, or shall we keep going?
One may not say a better definition, but it is important to know that whatever definition that is given, if it is this definition resonates with the laws of creation or the laws of nature, then it can help to understand the concepts which we are pushing forward. As at the last time when that same question was asked, the response simply was that which impels motion, whether the motion is impelled consciously or unconsciously, is immaterial. But that which impels motion, or that itself, which in itself is, I cannot say alive, because that which is alive will impel motions, whether it's the motion of one's thoughts, of one's intuition, or the movement of planets, whatever it is. That which impels motion in itself must be some type of radiation, or the source may be classified or categorized as life as long as radiative motion is concerned.
Thanks for that answer. I'm trying to make sense of what you're saying there. What that which impels motion, and I'm thinking, okay, uh, is let's look at different examples of what some people call life and see if that is life or not. And then we can also say, what are we going to discuss about in the reference for the program today? because if it's such a wide-ranging subject, the word life, then and we cannot cover that uh, possibly in this program, because let's say we talk about animal life, human life, angels, other beings that exist, plants, the Almighty is also, you can say, a life. So if these are all in quotes different, I don't know what word to use, angles or aspects, or different types of life, we can say like that. Um, but then we would be talking, there'll be so many points to discuss, and there could be something that applies to, let's say, animals, which may not apply to humans, and which may, apply to angels and other beings, and not, to all the beings. So, and I don't want to get into, let's say, too much, going all over the place. So let's make some focus on this point of the word life in this particular show, what we're going to talk about. So when we say what matters in life, um, what could be the starting point? Let's look at that, Gregory. Should it be human beings, the life of the human beings, what matters in human life, or animals? I don't think is really relevant in this topic. So could you give a little direction there, Gregory, for us to, because I don't want to go into the show so far and then we realize that we are, let's say, not talking what we really would like to talk about.
Basically, the framework of our discussion is directed at human lives. That means that of the personality. We're not talking about plants or animals, but that personality which is capable of self-consciousness. That's what we are referring to.
Okay, thank you for that. It's just really important, that's one of the reasons why we go through the meanings of the words in the dictionary, just to clarify the concepts that and the framework, as we say many times, there's a framework in where we are discussing these matters, and if we are not clear what is that framework, then sure, it's like two people talking on the same, supposedly the same subject, but coming from completely different angles, and then we cannot really understand each other at all, which of course is makes it very, let's say, difficult, and that's not what we are meant to be here. So okay, so this is about human beings, which I, of course, every show is about that we do is about human being, but it's just nice to know at the beginning. So, okay. Now, Gregory, we know there's the earthly life. We human beings live on this earth. I mean, that's not a, how can I say, a surprise for anyone. And then there's the spiritual life, or spiritual, as we are also, humans are spiritual beings as well. And then sometimes it's not clear what is important, because we are saying what matters in life. And where I want to go right now, Gregory, is there's something that Jesus said, and I would like to read out from the Bible there about life. This is about life. And this is in Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 to 34, and it's titled, Do Not Worry. So this is Jesus speaking. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon, in all his splendor, was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow, and is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Now, Gregory, when we hear these words, uh, let's say some of us might be wondering, um, oh, isn't it important to wear, um, um, you know, clothes or eat or, you need them? I mean, I hear what Jesus is saying about the birds, that they don't worry about these things, or where the food is coming from. They always get fed somehow, you know. And Jesus is saying that we are more valuable, we humans are more valuable than these birds. So why do we worry? So my question then, and um, um, I'm trying to think how to say this, because then Jesus said, seek first his kingdom, that's God's kingdom, and his righteousness. So, what is Jesus trying to say? Let me say it like that. What is Jesus saying in these words to human beings?
In the first instance, one must understand that when Christ spoke at that time, basically his mission was spiritual. So his expressions must be understood in a spiritual sense. Therefore, when he made such a speech, one must strive to understand it from a spiritual standpoint rather than a mere earthly standpoint. From a spiritual standpoint, when worry is discussed, one can see or one can perceive anxiety. Anxiety only exhibits itself when the human personality has not been able to perceive aright or has been too indolent. So worry always comes in when certain things have not been done or one senses some danger which is approaching. Whereas in the case of a human spirit that is striving aright, worries will be a thing of the past because he would have found a solution to a particular problem before these things manifest physically, where it may have an adverse effect. So with his teachings, he was only merely urging the human personalities to be awake spiritually and not allow the earthly things or earthly concerns to weigh it down. After all, when human spirits are getting worried about this, about that, they do this because they don't, or for many, they don't have a perspective of where they are coming from. Although it has been well written in biblical scripts that the human personality started its journey from paradise. And even now, with the advent of the message, the Grail Message, so much has been revealed. All this while, when the human personality started its journey, it has been taken care of. It has been clothed. It has been fed. Most likely, what Christ was referring to was spiritual food. Once the human personality has fulfilled his or her duties spiritually, others will be added unto him. That is one thing that many haven't yet understood aright. Because in that case, there will be a balance. And in accordance with the attraction of homogeneity, that which is needed for the physical body to subsist automatically, one way or the other, will be provided.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this answer. What I'm getting from what you're saying is there are earthly matters and there are spiritual matters, and our focus or priority should be on the spiritual matters. And when we do that, the earthly matters will also be, um, um, how can I say, taken care of. So the focus in the what is a priority or important is what we should uh, recognize, and that's what Jesus is. How can I say, pointing the way there to look at this that way rather than say worry about our earthly needs. We need food, we need clothes, we need home, a house or something. Uh, that's how we live on this earth. However, that is not, I could say, the main priority. Um, so I think this. And yet it's hard to think like that, Gregory, because you say, oh, if I don't have food, I can't even like walk or do anything. You know, I'm talking about the physical food now, not spiritual food. In my body, if I don't have that, I can't even think properly. And your health is very important. That's what we say. Health, without health, you can do nothing. You can't go to work. You can't you know move yourself. So that's sort of the way I think people worry, as we say, worry. um, and you could say it's in a way understandable. uh,
May I come in?
yes, go ahead.
Actually, you use the expression in a way understandable. By spirituality, that merely means one should be able to make use of one's intuitions, make use of one's intuition in accordance with the laws of nature. For when one makes use of the power of the intuition, the direction intuition has set, then for anyone who proceeds along such a direction, that which is necessary to attain to the goal, which is spiritually beneficial, all those things that are necessary, the individual will find them along the path. All it needs to do is to exert itself a little. So one should not consider spirituality as something which is so far off and I have to do this and abandon this. No, 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 no. In following one's intuition, the paths are always very well laid, and that which is necessary for the continuity and for the well-being of the individual well-being of the individual, which individual is of flesh and blood and has a soul, the inner core being of spirit, and in its activities, if only it follows the direction which has been put forward by the Spirit, which Spirit must have perceived to a large extent that which it needs, one will find that along that path, those things that will be of benefit to it are provided. It takes time for the individual, or it takes many lessons for the individual to come to understand it. And because of the lack of understanding that that is the right path, there is worry. There is worry because if you yourself haven't investigated, then you start wondering. The worry in itself, most of the time, comes from the tool which the individual uses, which is that of the intellect. Because it's as if it needs to proceed on a path which it is not used to. It needs to investigate a path which it senses it's not used to. It wants to follow those paths which it is used to. Whether those paths lead to the abyss or not is of no consequences. And to some extent, it will follow the paths it's used to, even if it has to steal. But for one who listens to one's intuition, those things that it is necessary for its well-being, not only spiritual, but also of the body, that path which it follows, it will find things have been well provided for.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer. And how can I say, you pointing us into the right direction of, again, how we should see life and how we should, you could say, live. Let's say our default position seems to be earthly needs. But we forget that we have a spirit, intuition, which can direct us, although it might sound, oh, it's a spiritual thing, so it doesn't cover earthly things, it covers spiritual things. But actually, that's not true. It covers everything, you can say, that we need, earthly or spiritual. So, and you said what it is for benefit for us. So it actually is a very big world that it looks at. However, because of our lack of understanding, as I was saying, understanding, we are not aware of this, you could say, ability of the intuition and the area that it works in, so, or how it can benefit even. So that once you are aware of what is intuition, how it works, or where it operates and what it can do, then you can see it in perspective. That I've got a lot more to ask you on this, Gregory. So before I continue on that, I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is what matters in life. What matters in life? If you have any questions or comments, you can join in the show by contacting us. That's if you're in UK, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, you can contact us on 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is Bless Radio 1. That's the number one.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I've mentioned, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number one there, space live stream. That's for the live show, which we broadcast on Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to a recording of this show the next day, which is again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again that's the number one, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is what matters in life. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. Again, that's the number one there. Now, Gregory, when I was reading from the Bible, that was Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 to 34, and Jesus was speaking about do not worry. He said the key line he said there was, but seek first his kingdom, that's God's kingdom, and his righteousness. So that is the, sorry, let me complete the whole line. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. All these other things, which is we can say the earthly things. Okay, so it looks like we should seek heaven first, and then the earthly things or all other things can be added unto you. And then you think, okay, what is it that we're trying to seek when we say seek the kingdom or God's kingdom, let's say, and his righteousness? So this is a key question there. So Gregory, where do we do that? How do we do that? Or what is this kingdom of God? Let's start with that one first, because you're saying what are the matters in life? So what is this kingdom of God, Gregory? Can you give us a picture of that?
That is the kingdom of the Spirit.
Okay. And that is we call it heaven, isn't it? Kingdom of heaven, I think. Okay. Kingdom of the Spirit. So, Gregory, when we say that kingdom of spirit, but it doesn't sound. We don't get a picture like it's somewhere not on the earth, and it sounds like something elsewhere. How do we do that? How can we seek that?
Very simply, through one's intuition, because intuition is the language of the Spirit. So if one wants to understand the kingdom of the Spirit, one has to use the tool which is of the Spirit for the communication. And it is one's intuitive perception, one's intuition, which is the language which is used for communication of the Spirit, communication with other spheres, communication with other human personalities that are of spirit, whether they are or whether they still have their physical body of flesh and blood or not. It is the human intuition that is used for communication. And therefore, that which is attached or connected to one's intuition is the spirit. After all, for the spirit, whether in flesh and blood or not, its language or the language which is spoken is that of one's intuition. So as long as the individual strives to master, to make use of the impressions which are transmitted through one's intuition, which then have an impact on one's back brain and subsequently, if one is not too indolent spiritually, on the frontal brain, before finally they are expressed in deeds. If one keeps to that route, then life itself or living will be such that the individual, some of the things it has been seeking, it will find that those things have been carefully placed along its path. All it needs to do is to recognize them. Then the worry about foods, the worry about some of these things will not be there, because without bringing the intellect, which is the frontal brain, into the equation, it will already have found a solution way, way before this particular challenge expresses itself.
Thanks for that answer there, Gregory. In my mind, I'm thinking Jesus didn't mention intuition, or as far as I can tell from his words in the Bible that we've been seeing. What I seem to recognize what he was saying was more repenting from our sins, like whatever wrongs we have done. And, it's like, and, he was giving a teaching, let's say, to love thy neighbor as thyself. And I'm trying to think of other words that he spoke, and in those sort of how can I say, commands or speeches, or teachings, he didn't mention anything about intuition there. So or even spirit directly. So is there something, how does that, how can I say, connect with what Jesus' words were? That's the point I want to say when when we talk about intuition and so on. I just
Well,
want to connect them.
there's this, it's an assumption or it's presumptuous to say that he didn't mention one's intuition. He must have used expressions. He must have painted a picture to allow, at the level of maturity of the people at that time, to have a picture. Although he used words to paint a picture, once the picture was well received, the example which he gave when he, as usually said, to love thy neighbor as thyself. Then there was a following up question, which was, and who is my neighbor? Which means they didn't understand it fully. And then he now painted a picture, all right, of someone who was coming from Jerusalem to Jericho, fell among robbers. The rest we know. And our expressions in this forum that every picture is a pointer. That's an expression which we've used again and again. A picture is a pointer. Where is it pointing to? It must be pointing to something which is more than mere physical. The picture which Christ painted enabled the listeners to hold a picture which will resonate with their intuition. So most of, if not all, his expressions when he was teaching, he was always painting pictures and leading the listeners in a step-by-step manner, pointing to the power that activates nature, pointing to the power that activates creation. So when one looks at, or when one cares to investigate his speeches, the actual words, all this point to one's intuition.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for clarifying and explaining, how Jesus was working with the people at the time. Um, because as you said, he can only talk or reach them at their level. Um, and if they themselves are not understanding what he's saying, then he can't go into, let's say, deeper ideas or explanations. Because you go step by step, as you say. If you can't even get on the first step, then you can forget about the third or fourth step. They cannot understand that. So I got you. And he always gave these like parables, as they say, stories in pictures. And the idea is that everybody should understand that the pictures. Uh, but of course, some people take these things too literally, and then they can't get anything. So they don't get that this is a story for you to get the picture or the point of the story. So we can see everybody's coming from different angle, and so those who I guess who are really want to answers, they can dig and work on it, and then the answer will come to them. I think there's another phrase, work and pray. So it's not just Jesus speaks something to you and then you automatically get what he's saying. You're supposed to do some work, and then pray on it. So that's how things will happen. So yeah, thank you for that. Now, Gregory, something, let's say I have observed about people, because we're saying what matters in life. And although I guess people know money, although it is important, it is not the most important. However, in reality, people do think money is the most important, and or at least one of the very high importance. It might not be the only one of high importance, but it seems to be of quite important. And the way I want to sort of demonstrate that is, for example, there's a drive amongst human beings. I know I cannot generalize that every human being has this drive, but in general, there's a drive to, have to chase money, about or an attraction for money. And now I want to give a couple of scenarios on that. So let's say there's a lottery or there's a competition where with money award, and with a big sum, let's say prize, big prize, and people are very, let's say, keen for that or attracted to that. And then there's another um, aspect, another angle of, you can see the importance of money. Let's say you have a heavy financial demand, maybe a big bill or debt or a penalty. Maybe you did something and then you had to pay a big fine, and this seems to hurt people when it is a penalty or a debt. It hurts people very strongly, and if it is an attraction for the money to win it, there seems to be a very strong attraction. In such, what I'm trying to show you there or talk about here, Gregory, is that these things matter a lot, sometimes even more than the non-earthly, or when I say non-earthly, other matters in, say, when somebody's having I'm not sure this is correct, but I will just say it anyway. Maybe there's a loss of a family member or ill health. Uh, uh, and how I want to show that, Gregory, is the reaction of the people when some scenario like this happens. They are very downhearted. If it was a penalty or something, they'll become very downhearted, or they get very excited if they win the money, big money. They get very excited. So you can see this has a big impact on the person. When it comes to, let's say, um, I know I'm trying to compare, and maybe that's not fair to do that, but when it comes to, let's say, um, non-financial scenario, which is, let's say, um, I, I'm not, as I say, Gregory, very sure what I'm saying is absolutely valid, but I'm going to say it any case. So let's say you lose a family member or you have a bad illness, a terrible illness. The impact may not be as severe as the money impact of the money. So uh, I'm just saying the reaction there, Gregory, of the people in general. Um, and the reason so the question I want to ask about it is, why is it that money has such a powerful impact on people, maybe sometimes more than other important things? Is there something, um, is it something inside the human being, or is it something else that is driving these things?
Many are attracted to that which basically is perceptible to them, or what they themselves have considered to be of paramount importance. There are many whose paramount importance is their health. They wouldn't bother about money because they have a lot of it. But because they have a health challenge, then it becomes another story. There are some who wish to achieve something by themselves. They already have the money, but that does not permit them, in most cases, to develop their own inner skills, inner talents, such that they will then use those skills and talents to get the necessary exchange. After all, money is not a thing of, or money is only used here on earth. Before money came in, there were other trades that were carried out. But since now money has now been made the main thing for exchange, many wish to use it. There are some who may have so much money or may not have money. Go to the field of music. It is not money that helped them to compose the music. It is because they have these innate skills, which, in spite of whatever scenario, were able to put these sounds together. But for those who are caught in the so-called money, for such, it comes first. And that which they need to have acquired or have achieved, they are unable to. So money is only a means to an exchange which they have set here on earth. It is not everything.
Thanks very much, Gregory. It was hard for me to sort of ask this question because each person has different priorities and different, um, scenario will affect them differently. Some people say, no, family is the most important thing. And others, like you say, health might be the most important thing. And for others, money might be the most important thing. And whether they have money or not, they might still want to have that priority. So, and that's why I was basically being, you could say, curious to know what is it driving those particular people to for whatever is their priority, you can say. So in a way, my follow-up question on that, Gregory, is what should be, let's say, the general um, direction or path that we should be following? Uh, you know, um, is there something? Is there something that is a priority, like that we should have, or should we have a general? Um, what should be driving us? That's where I'm going to really. Uh, in our, you could say, striving. Is it to become a better human being, or develop our potential, in our skills that we have, the abilities that we have, or um, you know, um, yeah, what should be the um, yeah our direction, or how do we, yeah, what is our direction that we should be striving for?
The driving power of the individual must be that of one's intuition. As long as the driving power is that of the intuition, and the frontal brain is able to cooperate in the realization, that means becoming into deeds of that which the intuition prescribes, then that becomes the right way to proceed. And many a thing which would have tied the individual such that it's unable to become free and experience, such will vanish because there is no, what one will say, similarity, or there is no attraction between the individual and the distractions which abound. So the driving force for each individual in flesh and blood should be one's intuition. Why? Because even after the individual has stopped making use of its body, its physical body of flesh and blood, for those in the beyond, the intuition, which is the language of the spirit, that intuition is still there. It is the intuition that they hold that help them to live in accordance with the laws of nature. For the concepts which they then form gradually and hopefully is likely to be concept which is of benefit to the spirit because they keep striving from one place to the other. If subsequently they themselves have to incarnate again on earth, the possibility is there that they might fall if they do not listen to their intuitions. So the way forward, which is the biggest challenge for any individual, is first and foremost to be able to perceive the driving force, the direction of the driving force, which has been pushed forward through one's intuition. It is all the problems that you find around has been due to the absence or the distortions of the intuitions of many. That which should have been of benefit to them becomes a disaster. As long, if before long, the human personality in flesh and blood purifies his frontal brain, then the vibrations of the frontal brain and the vibrations of the back brain, from the back brain through which the intuition manifests, these vibrations will become very similar. It will be of almost the same species, and therefore the right impression will permeate the frontal brain, which will then influence the deeds of the individual in such a way that the individual will feel fulfilled, even when you consider a scenario where what one has perceived intuitively may not be pleasant. It could be challenging because in some scenarios, people have to climb the mountain, have to climb a hill, and they are too lazy to do so. Whereas the higher one ascends, the more you can see the holistic picture rather than the picture which is very narrow or very dense. Because one's intuition provides a holistic approach, not a partial approach, which are disconnected.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer and the picture you're painting there. I've got more to ask you, but before I do that, I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Uprushin. And the topic that we are discussing tonight is, before I do that, if you want to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is what matters in life. What matters in life? If you have any questions or comments, you can, and you're in UK, you can contact us on our UK phone number, which is 079 39 6 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio One. That's the number one.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I've said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio One. That's the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1. Again, that's the number one there, space live stream. That's for the live show. You can also listen to a recording of this show the next day by going to, again, youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number one there, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is what matters in life. And of course, you can listen to the recordings of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number one there. Now, Gregory, you've mentioned there that there are, you could say, natural laws or laws of creation or laws of nature, where you could say that is one of our tasks as human beings to, we could say, discover them or get to appreciate their working, you could say, and work with them, of course, not against them. Now, these laws, I'm just thinking, Gregory, how do we discover them? Is it, how can I say, do we need to look up some spiritual teachings, or is it by going in nature, or is it some scientific, discoveries that people, that has happened, or yeah? So how do we get to know about these laws? I mean, some people may not realize that there are such laws exist, even that there's laws that you could say govern this world that we live in. So maybe, Greg, you can start with that. How do we come to discover that there are natural laws, and how do we find out about them?
That question is pertinent in the sense that the answer to it is dearest to man, for to be alive, even in the physical sense, only means that the individual is able to receive, whether the reception is that of food or ideas, or even in the case of the individual reflection, where answers comes to it without thinking too much, it will already come to the conclusion that there is motion, there is movement, one has to move, and therefore it's not rocket science, and can easily verify that because he or she breathes. That being the case, you will find that the individual also recognizes that deep within, there is a sensing which many times he or she cannot explain. And in that sensing, or in their quiet hours, they are able to come to the resolution of some challenge, sometimes by themselves. All individuals go through this stage in life. So the challenge has always been, how does the individual respond to the challenges which he or she has come across? That has always been the crux of the matter. Even with the question is, how should we proceed? It means, how should we respond? What should we do? All these have their basis in how do we respond to challenges. For such a question itself is a challenge. Hunger is a challenge. Ignorance is a challenge. Knowledge itself is a challenge. Therefore, it is how the individual responds to challenges that is able to allow, or that's able to permit him or her to ascend in accordance with the laws of nature, or not to ascend. That means to remain on the same spot, that means at the same level, or to sink. All these depend on how the individual responds to the challenges before it, which challenges could be that of deeds, which challenges could be that of one's thoughts, or above all, intuitive challenges, because in that case, you have to interpret it right. As long as the individual shies away from motion, as long as the individual shies away from confronting these in accordance with the laws of creation, then is unable to make any progress. No sooner as he or she strives to comprehend aright by using the right framework, that is, of he or she who receives whatever they have received, which is of benefit to them, they should make use of it and then to pass it on to others. That is not rocket science. Many will say, oh, they've been doing it. They said that because they know there are others that have ears that can hear. There are many things which goes on in people's thoughts which is contrary to what they say, or what's contrary to their deeds. The same thing with one's intuition. Above all, what the individual must strive to understand is the inner longing which leaves it restless. For in that case, it is one's intuition, which intuition, when it resonates with the teachings of Christ, or when it resonates with the laws of creation, keeps knocking within the soul, knocking within one's thoughts. That longing, which then tears down the barriers, which barriers have changed the human spirit. For it is the human spirit that wants to awaken. That's why there is that longing. Therefore, for one who strives to listen to one's intuition, to perceive it aright, then the first step has been taken. That is the most challenging. And as long as the human personality has taken the correct first step, many other things will be added onto him or her.
Thanks a lot, Gregory. When we talk about these natural laws, because the understanding of them, these natural laws, is very important, just to live. Let's say we do things a lot, let's say in most of our life, in an unconscious manner. We walk, we eat, all these activities. It's like we don't think about them too much. And then there's other things. Yes, we do think about them, our future career, and what talents we have, and so on, how we develop that. So but then we are not here by ourselves. Yes, there's other fellow human beings. There's this world that we live in, and other animals and plants and so on, atmosphere, the earth that we are in, and you could say we interact with the climate and whatever the landscape is that we are in. So we have to adapt to all this world, and whether we recognize that as adapting to the natural laws, people will not maybe see it like that. In science, we do discoveries, and it becomes more formal there to see these things. But really, these are all important questions of life, you can say. Why am I here? What is my purpose? And so on. And then on Earth, we have a society or community, and we have made our own human laws, so that we can be living in peace and harmony and deal with matters, when there's disputes and so on. So that we can see there's a system, and so the laws are really that. Natural laws are really that. You could say the natural operating system, if I can put it in these words, which we must come to recognize. For example, we know the farmers, they need to plant some seeds, or even, plants or crop or whatever it is, and that's what we are living on for our food. So they have to obey nature there. So you can see we do all these things half consciously, half unconsciously, but it is time now that we really need to understand these things, because in a deep way, that's what I want to say, not just an unconscious level that we have been doing. And why is that? Why do we need to know them, know that way? Because we have messed a lot. We have done a lot of trouble in our lives over centuries and in history, you can say, and not being able to live in peace. And even we think about this currently climate change and so on, which looks like it can ruin us if we don't come to find a way to, to live within our means, as they say. So that's the big picture I would like us to know. And that's all of this is earthly so far. We haven't really mentioned deeply what is the purpose of all this earth life and so on. Um, so now, Gregory, there's another angle we haven't looked at just yet. You know, there are these religious teachings, and there are many of them. And I want to understand, Gregory, what is the role of for them, role for that in our life? Does it matter that there are these religious teachings? Some people now in the modern world, they don't even believe in God. They just believe in humanity, or um, I've forgotten the word they use. Uh, uh, it's just like the, principles of living in harmony and so on. I'm not able to say it. Humanitarian ways, but not always thinking of God as such. So my point here, Gregory, or question here um, is there something you said we use the intuition, uh, but intuition itself, I don't know if I can call it, is automatically knowledge. It's more about perception. So is there something that we are supposed to learn, like a teaching, um, uh, which are these religious books, you can say, or of course in the modern time there's science and so on, or should it be we look at everything that comes, that we see is there, and uh, learn from all of that. Let me say it like that, because now the world is like a small world, as they say, that with technology we are sort of able to reach out to the whole world, and find out about so many different things. Before, you would only be born where you are or live where you are, and you would get to know that culture or tradition. So let me put this into a simple question. I've been going round and round a little bit. So my question is, Gregory, uh, what should be the guidance? Gregory, you said intuition, but is it only on its own? We learn by itself on its own, or can we use the things that from the past times, or the teachings that we have, the religious teachings and so on, are they of any use to us?
The so-called religious teachings are of use if one is able to verify their usefulness, their effectiveness on or using the framework of the laws of nature. Whatever teaching it is, if it violates or if it is not in harmony with the laws of nature, which also called the laws of creation, then that teaching becomes inadequate for the human personality to use here or hereafter. So it is the laws of creation that count. The teaching itself, which could have been falsified, the teaching itself, which could have been distorted, and therefore it becomes very or near impossible for the human spirit in flesh and blood to follow such a doctrine, which doctrine violates nature. Therefore, first and foremost is the investigation with the spirit, the investigation with one's thoughts, and also the investigation in one's deeds. These are the three possible ways that one may carry out an investigation. Investigation in deeds is the most common is the most common because with the deeds, the individual is able to use the tools of the five senses to acknowledge or not to acknowledge. However, the five senses cannot carry out investigation in one's thoughts because one's thought is a different species from that of the five senses. You cannot hold your thoughts, neither can you smell them, neither can you, smell or touch whatever. That is completely out. However, you yourself know that you think. Therefore, you must also investigate with your thoughts. The thoughts and the deeds are familiar to the human personality in flesh and blood. Due to lack of use of one's intuition, the impressions which the intuitions bring are not familiar with that of the brain or with that of one's thoughts. But for those who are able to recognize an intuitive picture and have been practicing in the art of recognition of one's intuition, then you have the scenario that it becomes of second nature to them. In that case, whatever teaching they come across, they are also able to examine the teaching intuitively and make their informed decisions along the line. So each personality has a triple task duty to perform: examination in deeds, examination in thoughts, and examination in one's intuition. Only then can one confront any teaching to find out if it is of benefit or not of benefit. Because any teaching or doctrine must be, examined and weighed with the framework that has arisen out of motion. And this framework are the laws of nature, of creation, which laws also are the expression of the divine will, which permitted creation to come into existence.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for that picture you've given here of, I think what you're showing to us is that this is a journey of self, exploration and discovery. It's not there's a doctrine. We should be following this or that, because the idea here is to become a self-conscious human being rather than becoming one of the herd, following others. And then you're no longer individual human being, you're more following like a group. And whatever that you're following has something wrong in it, and if you go astray because of that, or you make a mistake somehow, then you will say, oh, I'm not to blame, it's the other people who put me in that direction. So no, at the end of the day, the responsibility is always whatever happens to us is our own responsibility. We choose to follow or not to follow. And so that is how we cannot blame anybody for what happens to us then. So and this is all about being awakened, in the path that we follow. And so I hear you there. Um, so before I continue, I want to let again the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that: www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is what matters in life. What matters in life? If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. If you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I said, we are broadcasting on blessradio1, the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number one again, space live stream. That is for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to a recording of this show again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number one again, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is what matters in life. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. Again, that's the number one there. Now, Gregory, there's this, we talk about the natural laws, and then there are some, there's the famous 10 Commandments of God. And I was wondering, has that got, those 10 Commandments, are they anything to do with the natural laws, or are they, how can I say, guidance for the living on, because they apply to the earthly life, if I can say, or some of them are very specific, you could say, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt keep the Sabbath day holy. The first one is about the Almighty Father. Thou shalt not worship, thou shalt have only, I can't say it properly. Thou shalt have no God, but God alone only. You cannot worship other gods. So that's that I believe should apply in any part of the world, whether it's earthly or non-earthly. So I just want to ask: are these 10 Commandments, Gregory, specific for the earthly um, life, or are they more than that?
Those Ten Commandments resonate with the laws of nature, the laws of creation, from the earthly standpoint. Those commandments hold, those commandments which have not been distorted. When one refers to the earthly standpoint, you will must understand when it says, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods or their neighbor's wife," and all that. Only here on earth do we have neighbor's wife and all things of that nature. In the beyond, that is not the case. Where you have a marriage and you have a husband, and people come together as a result of the attraction of similarities, of homogeneity. For in the beyond, there is a strict separation. So you will find those Ten Commandments had been given in an earthly sense, but they resonate completely with the laws of nature, with the laws of creation.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer there. Um, Now, I wanted to look at some other, let's say, aspects in our lives. There's we have the traditions and culture that obviously people live in different places, and they will have that in their own sort of place. And but sometimes, Gregory, let's say, even if you're coming from the same culture or tradition or people, let's say, you may not agree with that particular tradition for some reason, uh, and mm, so I'm wondering, uh, should one follow them just to keep the peace, or should one sort of make some objection about it? Because uh, if you do that object, then you are likely to find a lot of people, turning against you, and and it's not that you're looking to have a fight with somebody, but and we've been saying all the time in our show that we are meant to be thinking, ourselves, or using our intuition. Each person is individual, and and also the level of consciousness, each person's are different in their, you could say, maturity and their understanding and so on. And yet we are you live in a community, you live in a culture, and yes, you might like to eat the food and enjoy all that, but certain things of the traditions, you may not agree with it. And so uh, would it be like a hypocrisy, Gregory, if one follows this um, tradition which one doesn't agree with, or for the uh, or should one express some, how can I say, um, some make some statements? I don't want to say the word protest, because um, it sounds like you're leading some campaign, and so you might be some revolutionary. So I just want to say, how does one act when there is something in, like, for example, a tradition which one doesn't really feel happy about it?
The human personality must weigh in deeds, must examine in deeds, must weigh in thoughts, must examine in thoughts, must weigh with one's intuition, must examine with one's intuition. all within the framework of the laws of creation, the laws of nature. If in that process of weighing and examining, it finds that the tradition or whatever it is resonates with these laws, it still has the free will to accept or to reject. When many talk about traditions, not long ago, there were traditions where in different parts of the world, where if you had twin children, they consider it not to be right, and therefore the twins should be killed. What would you say to the mother of such if such a tradition is to be maintained? Not long ago, we had the scenario in some countries where if a spouse died, most likely the man and is one of the kings, if he died, the wife is supposed to be cremated also to accompany him. Ask yourself, should such be accepted? Is that in accordance with the laws of nature, of the free will of the individual? And yet, this is a well laid down tradition, just like the slaughtering of twins was a well laid down tradition. So, the human personality must weigh and examine. Weigh and examine traditions, weigh and examine doctrines, weigh and examine even the truths itself. For weighing and examining is an activity in motion. Only in such a way can one separate that which resonates from that which does not resonate. And that which does not resonate, leave it alone. If subsequently one claims they have weighed and examined, and they themselves are kings or queens, or they have authority, they will permit some other person to be cremated because a spouse has passed on. If they themselves will permit that, then that becomes their level of maturity. But if deep within them, they sense this does not make right, because the individual human personality has the free will to be or not to be. Now, trying to force another not to be will be a violation of the free will, which is intrinsic to the human personality. So it doesn't take much to put things clearly before all, unless, however, the individual is too indolent to investigate, it is too indolent to weigh, or too indolent to examine. Then all that is it comes across, the challenges that assail him overwhelm the individual.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for the your answer and the examples you have given. Where somebody thinks they're in a dilemma about how to deal with the situation, but actually, when one reflects deeply, uh, you know, especially when you give the serious cases that you gave there, it becomes clear. Where do you stand? Are you going to let things happen? Let's say evil or wrong things uh, happen just because of tradition, or will you stand up to the in those cases? So thank you for that. Now I've got another question. This time it's about language and how important is accurate language or even the use of language. So where I'm coming from here, Gregory, is let's say politicians. I know they've got a maligned image, but they're the leaders in our world. So I want to use some example of them. So sometimes, Gregory, they make controversial statements, and maybe even they're looking for a response from their opponents or whoever they want to negotiate or deal with. They can make some, um, uh, as I say, controversial. I use the word controversial, but that doesn't really give the picture because it can be quite harsh or severe, or even they stoke hatred or can lead to that um, with their words, and sometimes uh, let's say they even say some words which they're calling someone's bluff. They're not actually, they just say something, let's say, how could I call it? As I said, the word controversial doesn't really give the right thing, but something strident and uh, I'm even saying I can't come up with the exact phrase, but it's something very harsh, you can say, which can induce hatred as well, as I say. Um, and then, as I say, sometimes they um, putting these harsh words, and but then Gregory, what I'm trying to say, there's a response from the public or journalists or the opponents or whoever these words are aimed at, and and there can be some serious consequences from them, maybe violence, uh, or even when they speak, as I say, in when it's not a clear language, it can be lead to even confusion, you know, and misunderstanding. And but the real point I want to make, Gregory, it sort of leads. Uh, it can drum up the people, into particular. So they can maybe do violence or something like this. So the question is. Should people speak what they really mean, because we know there's also this diplomatic language sometimes people also use. How should one speak? I'm talking in the public now, not to some friend. That is a different matter because the friends normally understand each other when they're saying they're a joke or something like that. But when there's some statements being made in public by politicians or leaders, how should they speak? Should they speak their mind, exactly what they mean? Or should they be, in quotes, diplomatic, showing courtesy, or can they be using their sharp language, as which is can, as I said, lead to some, let's say, severe response, violent response, even.
Very simply, as their spirit moves them, as they are able to perceive their intuitions are right, so they must express themselves in all clarity. That is why it is said, let your response be yes or no. Means the response could not mean yes and mean no at the same time, or no and mean yes at the same time. That leads to confusion. So if the so-called politicians are used to hiding their intention behind words, then there you have it. The laws of creation through which they themselves also came into existence and have permitted them an incarnation to redeem themselves from former misdeeds or merely to improve themselves, to purify themselves. These laws, which are alive itself, these laws will be triggered to judge them. The judgment will be such that the inner core, the motive of the activities, whatever it is, will be returned to them to taste. If the motive is then pleasurable to them, then they will enjoy it. If, however, the motives which has been hidden from others through clever words are such that they incite destructions, then before long, they themselves, being stakeholders in that particular scenario, will have to experience it to the full. They have to experience it to the full to be purified from it. Whether they are able to survive or not survive it is a different matter. But that which they themselves have caused to come into creation, that is what they themselves will have to reap in abundance.
Thank you so much for that answer there, Gregory. I've got another question. In fact, I've got a couple, but I'm thinking we haven't got time for that. So again, again, you could say concerning politician, you can say, or people in the news, celebrities even. Sometimes, the press, they dig up some dirt, the only way I can express it, because again, I'm not being specific about anything because every week there's some news about someone, let's say some minister or government minister or somebody, celebrity, let's say, something they have done in their past, and in the press it's been exposed now. It could have been 10 years ago, it could have been 5 years ago, it could have been 2 weeks ago. But whatever it is, it's now exposed and nobody can deny what has been found. Because there's physical evidence, or the words they've said, mostly it's about people saying something, or there's a video or something to show, to prove what somebody has done in that position. And then, so these are, again, public figures who supposedly are having important positions in power and so on. And then it could be something from their private life, or it could be something within their job that they show some failing, let's say, or they've made some remarks which are very, you could say, terrible. And then once it's exposed, very soon either they are sacked by whoever's in charge, or they resign themselves. And it's not necessarily to do with the job, but only because basically their reputation has been brought down. So my question is, Gregory, is that when this happens, is that really a reason for someone to? Because I can say pretty much every person has some skeletons in their cupboard, which might be all hidden, and then one day they might come out. And if everybody was exposed like this, they would all need to resign. I mean, it's only the matter of when they find when it is found what is the skeleton that everybody will be, will be caught. So my question is, if that when this exposed when this things happen, when somebody's exposed like that, should they have to go, or cannot they just you know do say sorry or whatever they did and do the job, continue in the job they were doing? Because as I say, I think there isn't anybody who is like innocent of something. There can always be something that somebody has done which they would be embarrassed for it to come out in public. Oh, Gregory, are you there?
I'm here, but what is the question?
I'm saying that when this, let's say, negative news comes out about a person of their from their past, should they all have to resign because of that, or can they say sorry and continue to work? Because, as I say, if everybody was caught like this before, there won't be anybody left.
The rules of government that permitted the individual to be there, those rules are the ones which they follow. The other rules which you yourself might be referring to could be those ones which swing unconditionally in creation. Those rules, the returns definitely will come. What the intellect is unable to say precisely when those returns will come. So whatever is done in the press, in the physical, that is different. The returns of what had been the initial motive of these scenarios, the initial motive that brought these things into existence, those ones will come when they are matured enough. Therefore, the justice which swings unconditionally in accordance with the laws of creations are different. Moreover, if the individual who had had a misdemeanor long time ago has changed within himself or herself and now proceeds to live a life where he or she wishes to be helpful to society, having done the best he could, whatever is thrown at it, it will not be worried because it has done its best.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this. Again, your answer there. What you're showing is uh, there's no exactly hard and fast rule. You've done this, so you must go, or you have done this, you can carry on. Uh, uh, you know, um, and as you have said, pointed out, there is the laws of nature which work themselves out, and then there's the human beings with their rules. And they need to know. Everybody needs to know where they stand with these things. So, it's clear. Thank you for that. Now, dear listeners, we've come to the end of the show tonight on the topic of what matters in life. And I hope you've enjoyed the discussion. Um, I would like to just finish by reading from the Grail Message, the foreword, which is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all the all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Aprushin. Dear listeners, if you want to get a copy of the Grail Message or want to get information on the Grail Message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you. Same from me, listeners. Have a beautiful week ahead. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time with another topic. Take care now. Good night and God bless.